Hi, my name is Ethan Thomas, and today I'll be discussing the do's and don'ts to proper mask wearing during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, before we get into the do's and don'ts, it's important to understand why wearing a mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19. Research shows that COVID-19 can actually be found in aerosols. And aerosols are these tiny microscopic liquids and solids that are released whenever you breathe, talk, or speak. So say you and a buddy are in a room and you're having a conversation and you're 6 feet apart and you're talking, so some aerosol particles are coming out. Now, if you're talking for 15 minutes, the aerosol particles are not going to travel very far. They're going to dilute in the air. There's not going to be many of them. But if you keep talking for a really long time, the more and more the room is going to fill with these aerosol particles, and the more likely you are to transmit this disease to your friend. So, it is very critical to be wearing a mask that is tight to your face. So this brings me to the don'ts. So don't number one is bandanas. Now, I've seen a lot of people wear these, and it made sense during the beginning of the pandemic because people didn't know that COVID-19 was traveling through aerosols. They thought it was all ballistic droplets, like sneezing and coughing. But, you put this up over your nose. The problem is that as you breathe and you talk, there's so much space in here for the aerosol particles to travel out, making this very ineffective. And this brings me to my next don't. Reusing disposable masks. Now, the reason why I say this is because you need to have a tight-fitting mask. The more and more you use a disposable mask, the less tight it's going to be. So if I put this used mask on my face, and even if I put this down on the top, you can see on the sides here that there's a lot of space for these aerosol particles to go through. It's not a tight enough mask, and if someone's standing behind me, well, my aerosol particles, and if I have the disease, will probably spread backwards. So this brings me to the do's. So I actually recommend using a reusable mask because they're less likely to get loose like disposable masks are, and they stay tighter on your face. And when you get a new mask, it's important to test how tight it is. And one way to do this, I actually learned from Dr. Jose Jimenez, a professor at the University of Colorado in Boulder, who studies and has done a lot of research on aerosol particles and COVID-19. So he suggests when you put on this mask, if you want it to be tight, you have to stick your fingers in and make sure that it's hard for your fingers to get through. Now, as you can see, this one's kind of loose. So, since I have a small face and since maybe kids have small faces, what I suggest doing is actually tying the ends here in a little knot in order to make the mask tighter. So here, tying this one side, and now the other side, and voila! See? It's super tight, a lot harder for my fingers to get in here, and a lot more protective from aerosol particles. I know these things might seem excessive, but if you follow these simple little steps, you can seriously reduce the spread of COVID-19. So thank you all for listening, and remember to wear a tight mask.